This interview is brought to you by Burn Up Coaching and the 21-Day Challenge. If you are an entrepreneur, high achiever, you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, lost, not truly connected with your greatness, you feel like you can reach another level, 21-Day Challenge is here to reignite you, your self-belief, and your passion so you can succeed like never before. You'll get crystal clear on those long-term goals, break them down into bite-sized steps, and go after them for 21 days with one-on-one accountability support. If you are interested and committed and want to find out more, send me a message, chris@beyourgps.com, or find me on Facebook and message me there. Thanks so much. Looking forward to talking to you. Next up is the iTunes review of the week, and it's by ASLD. And they say, such an uplifting energy. Chris shines so brightly. This is a man on a mission to spread love and authenticity. I'm in awe of his commitment to having fun, creating a life of fulfillment and abundance, and supporting others to do the same. Keep up the good work, Chris. The world needs you. Thanks so much, ASLD. I appreciate you. If you want to give us a review, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes and or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on the iTunes store and let us know what we're doing well, what you feel like we could use improvement on. We love the feedback, so looking forward to hearing and seeing your review. Now, Alan's going to come on in 1 minute or so. I'm going to introduce him. Before that, though, make sure you have a pen, paper, get ready to take notes because we're bringing the resources, the value, the wisdom, the exercises, the practices so that you can truly step into your greatness and your greatest possible self. And Alan is going to be bringing that fire for us today. So stick around throughout the entire interview because you never know what one idea can transform the rest of your life. Alan Wade, an award-winning and internationally best-selling author, is much more than just a survivor of a very traumatic childhood. No more than just a survivor than he is a spiritual being on a mission to empower others to create the life they truly deserve. Alan uses his own personal trauma and education to connect with people, to help them see the world differently. One of Alan's favorite sayings is, "If he can do it, then why not you?" And we're blessed to have him here with us today. Alan, are you ready to rock the house, bring the heat, and change these people's lives forever?
Rock and roll. Yes, I am.
Yes, awesome. We're now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Alan, thanks so much for being here and showing up and being your greatest possible self. We appreciate you, man.
Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's dive right into the question of the day, which is take a stand. Alan, how does this concept of take a stand show up in your life? What does that mean for you?
Well, taking a stand means doing the right thing. And sometimes the right thing is just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean it's going to benefit you, but doing the right thing. That's where I take a stand on.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I hear ethics and integrity are a real important part of you and your philosophy and honesty. You know, like being someone who's respectful, who's a good person. That's your guiding compass, one of your core values. That's incredible, man.
Yeah. I learned that many years ago. That you know what, it's better to be true to yourself than follow the group or follow the mob mentality. And doing the right thing is never easy, but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. I love it, Alan. Well, for everyone who's just getting connected with you for the first time, why don't you share a little bit more about who you are and what your clients come to you for?
Well, I'm an award-winning author. My latest book was with Robert J. Moore. It's called Awakening: Out of the Darkness into the Light. And it's about Robert and I both share very traumatic events in our life and how we were affected by it and how we changed our lives to actually help other people now. My life is focused on helping others to overcome trauma, to overcome what's ever holding them back. And like that saying that you said there, if a normal guy, I was nobody special. I was just like everyone else. My programming held me back. And if a guy like me can do it, why not you? Why not anyone?
Love it. I love it, Alan. Well, that's super powerful. Robert J. Moore has been on the show multiple times. He's an incredible dude, and I'm grateful he connected us because now we get to dive into your story, your journey, and really this philosophy about awakening that magic within. And before we get into, let's say, the principles and the philosophy of that, let's go back into the journey. Let's talk about some of those challenges and obstacles that you overcame to get to where we are today. How did you get on this path in the first place?
Well, you know what? Sometimes things happen in your life that at the time you think really it's terrible and life sucks. And at 10 years old, I went into a church and I was basically grabbed from behind, dragged to a side room, and raped by somebody in that church. And at the end, he threw me off. And the words that stuck with me for years were, I was bad, I deserved to be punished. And if I came back or did anything, I would get punished again, right? Or if I told anyone what happened. So from 10 to 15, I lived in like total fear, fear of being found out, fear of my secret happening. Because when I got home that night, I lied to my parents. I told them nothing had happened. I was, just hurt myself. But at 10 years old, I really didn't understand what had happened. It wasn't until I was 15 that it was getting hit with a 2x4 when I realized what had happened, that I had been raped at 10, and all those years of crying in secret, because boys in my time, they don't cry, right? My programming was, you got to be tough, you got to be macho. So I never told anyone. Like, this is a secret that I kept for 40 years. At 15, when I found out really what happened, I started to really, I was blaming myself already, but the blaming intensified. It was like a broken record playing in my head. You deserve to be punished. You're bad. And so the blaming, the shame and guilt just became too much. And at 16, it was the second time I tried to kill myself. I went out into the bush and I put a gun in my mouth and I pulled that trigger and nothing happened. The universe, God was looking out for me. And I did it again. And then I just went into a rage, a total rage. I lived for the next 12 years in anger, keeping people away with, making them fear me. And that was my safety blanket. That's what anger did. And basically it just kept me locked in that cycle of anger, blaming, shame, and guilt. It was terrible. I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
So you went through your late teens and mid to late 20s with all this anger. Yeah. How did you get through that period of time? Like, what did you focus on? What got you through that?
Really, I'm not sure how I didn't end up dead, because I did a lot of bad things. I didn't care about people. I justified everything I did. Till I was 27, and something happened where, there's always a time when you get pivotal messages that something's got to change, and many people don't listen to those messages. Well, for me, I'm amazed that I didn't end up dead till 27 years old. And at 27, something happened, and what really happened was the anger took over, and I went back to that church to look for that guy. And when I walked in, I actually write it in the book, Awakening. Mm-hmm. When I walked in, I think I was ready to do something terrible, right? I was probably going to ruin the rest of my life at that moment, because the anger was beyond control. When I walked in, I was met by a couple people, and it was surreal for me. All I could think of was all of the thoughts were going through my head like fast forward of a movie. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. No, yes, and oh my God, the fear came back. Like 27 years old, I was, I'm 6 foot, a couple 100 pounds, and you've got that fear of a 10-year-old boy again. That's what flashbacks do, right? And triggers do. They bring you right back to the experience. And then when that man approached me, I suddenly realized, you know what? I didn't even have a face to the guy that did it. Everything had happened from grabbed from behind, thrown off the stairs from behind, raped from behind, and it was like deflating. Yeah, the best word I could give you is I was deflated. I was lost, and that was actually the moment I began to realize that was it. I needed to think differently, to change, right?
Yeah, so you went back to this place seeking vengeance, seeking to exact your anger, execute your anger, so to speak. And when you got there, you realized that there wasn't really anything you could do anyways, because you didn't know who to blame, so to speak, and you didn't know like what you were going to do, and you're there, and you're like, wait, why am I even here? And it's like you got this wake up call saying, hey, Alan, like you're wasting your time and your energy. You're meant for so much more than this. Like, stop holding on to this. And then you proceeded to like process your anger and all these emotions and pent up and frustration and anger turned inward, suffering, all of that. Is that what you mean?
Oh yeah. Actually, I'm beginning when you were describing that. I'm thinking, were you inside my head at that time? Because that's a perfect description of what's going on. Yeah. It was like, I remember getting back in the car, going home and sitting on the couch, lost for the first time ever, just not knowing what to do. And, that lasted a little while, but then a sick feeling of all the bad things that I had done over the years and justified and made excuses for my behavior. Like, I realize today that, I made the conscious decision to deal with things in a way that really actually kept me in the cycle of violence and in pain and stuff. So today I help people, and in the book I'll say it too. When people ask me, I tell them, don't do what I did.
Yeah.
Do everything opposite, because I did everything wrong, right?
So what was the thing that made the biggest difference in you moving forward after that point? 27 years old, you're lost, you don't know what to do. Like, how did you get back onto the good track, and what does the next decade or two look like for you? Yeah.
The thing that got me back on the track actually was fear of that anger I had, because you know what? There was so many things that I was capable of when I was mad that it's kind of like I said, it's amazing I didn't kill myself or end up in jail. And for me, the conscious thing was I always kept track of what I was thinking, and was the anger, because I was sick of anger. 12 years of being angry. And your best friend says to you, you're scary when you're pissed off, and you respond with, well, people shouldn't piss me off, right? Like, how much more justifying could that do? That and when you're hanging out with some people that are like 6'4" and 300 pounds, and they look at you and say you're scary, and I'm looking at them a little bit intimidated by them, right? That's it was the anger. Like, I had to release that anger, and it took practice. Like, even when I started at 27 to change, my ego and my programming stopped me from asking for help. Like, I did everything backwards. I did it all by myself. And did I learn a lot of things? Yes. Did I go 2 steps forward, 1 step back? Of course. But you know what? To share all of that experience with people, saying, you know what, well, I tried this, it didn't work. So if you want to try that, you can go right ahead, but this was the result. So yeah, It took a while, but I turned my life around. I am grateful that I didn't ruin it totally with that trauma.
What would you recommend for someone who's listening or watching right now as a way that they can grow through whatever kind of struggles they're dealing with? What kind of practices or exercises really worked for you?
You know what? When I put that gun in my mouth and I pulled that trigger, I was without hope. I couldn't see a future. I had that broken record playing in my. I was paranoid. I was 16 years old. I was captain of the football team, and I was worried someone was going to find out that I was, raped.
No.
And like the first thing that people have to do is to realize not to blame themselves for things, because I think that was one of the main things that it was easy. It's easy for people to blame themselves, like, oh, I deserve this or I don't deserve that. And I think the first thing you have to do and realize is the blaming yourself is just going to keep you where you are, and that you have to stop blaming yourself. And for people listening, I can tell you right now. I went to the door, I opened it, I pulled that trigger because I couldn't find hope. But if that would have worked properly and my life ended at 16, I wouldn't have a beautiful partner that I have right now. I wouldn't have those beautiful kids that I have. I wouldn't have the grandkids I have. And you know what? There is always light somewhere, a sliver of it. And when you're in that dark place, the best thing I can tell you is, or anybody is, never give up on yourself, never give in, and just find something to go on one more day, because you never know what the next day will happen, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%, Alan. I love it, and I think it's really valuable to hear from where you came from, and just forgiving yourself, releasing that shame and the guilt, learning how to process that. Did you share it with people to release it, or how did you? Was it just like self forgiveness and having a dialogue with yourself that was the biggest thing that lightened the burden, so to speak?
Yeah, that would be the way I did it. Like I said, I did everything totally backwards. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't confide in anybody. You know what? I can tell you a story. I remember the day that I actually said the words out to somebody else. I was an addictions counselor.
Yep.
I was 50 years old, or just about 50 years old. And I was lecturing to the clients on a lecture of abuse. And I had never told anyone in the 40 years previous. And I was telling them, you know what? I know what it's like to be emotionally abused, physically abused, mentally abused, and sexually abused. And when I said it, you ever get that when you're meeting somebody, or you get that embarrassed feeling and all of a sudden your face starts turning red? You can feel the blood rushing to your head.
Yep.
And I bet you I started sweating, right? Well, I started to panic because I'd actually heard the words out loud, and I told somebody. And I turned back to the blackboard to make like I was going to write something, an epiphany on the blackboard for the clients. And I had to tell myself, you're going to be okay. It's all right. Like I was beginning to have a little panic attack. And then I said, no, go back to do what you're doing. I turned around and continued with the lecture. And that was the first time I'd ever said it out loud. It was a fluke. It was like, well, that was time, right?
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like a fluke because, you know what? The gun didn't work. Right? Or I wasn't smart enough to make it work. I couldn't find the guy at 27, and then this happens this way. Everything that happened in my recovery was kind of a fluke. Like I had never actually planned to tell anybody about what had happened.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
incredible. That's
it,
incredible. So
it,
it like slipped out because your subconscious mind's like, oh my gosh, I've been keeping this a secret, trying to keep this a
oh
secret,
yeah,
and like I feel like secrets always reveal themselves. You know, it just gets too much for our subconscious mind to hold it for so long. You know, it's like eventually it'll come out, and so it's funny because I feel like when people do that, when they're holding such a secret, right? Like they have to do it intentionally, but you, it just kind of slipped out. You were just kind of like, well, this, I know what this is like, I know what that's like, and then that, and then you like kind of keep going with your routine of, you know, the counseling,
yeah.
and then you're like, oh wait, what did I just say?
I'm serious. It was like, holy, you know, your mind's thinking and you're trying to focus because you don't want anybody to know you're about to melt down
Yeah,
or anything
yeah.
like that. And oh yeah, it was funny. And I remember actually going back to the office and sitting there thinking, oh my God, what just happened? Like,
Wow.
and it was kind of like a relief. And there was actually a tear that came down, and I'm not sure if it was sadness or relief, but it was actually pretty funny. But I'll tell you, when I got home the night, I was like, oh my God, what are the clients going to say to me tomorrow? What if they ask me questions? Did my boss hear me say that? Like, oh yeah, it was all these thoughts, right?
Wow.
It was going like really fast.
Yeah. So you had that moment, and then how did that progress into you wanting to write this book, and then you know, share your story more? Like what was the evolution of that?
Well, my partner and I were both addictions counselors, and we ended up writing our first book. It's called The Magic Within,
Hmm.
How to Transform Your Life.
Hmm.
And by the time we wrote that, I had spoke about the sexually being raped many times to clients and
Mm.
to groups and stuff. And I actually put that in that book, but I really was really kind of brief about it. It was like nonchalant. I was very direct. This happened, this happened, this happened, and it was like 3 pages or something I wrote about that, right?
Hmm.
So we give the book out to a lot of people, and they want to talk to us about the programs of coaching programs we have and the workbooks we have. And the question that always asked me was, "What did you go through? What was it like?" Right? So, and this is where all the flukes come in.
Mm.
Whereas last year, I meet up with Robert J. Moore, and I get to him, and we resonate right away. And I write a chapter in his other book,
Hmm.
The Magnetic Entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And he reads my story because I tell a little bit of it. He reads my story, and then he tells me his, and we're on the same page. And he says, you know, we should write a book together. And suddenly, it's like all the flukes. I'm writing a book, but now
Wow.
I'm really much more detailed about what happened and
Mm.
what all the side effects, and then how I slowly changed my life. Right?
Wow.
It's kind of like fate. It's just I met this guy, resonated with him. He's a great friend, a mentor. Like I can't thank Robert J. Moore enough for reaching out to me, and
Mm.
he put this whole project together, and he did a lot of work on it, and I am grateful for him. Like yeah, and you know what? When I wrote the book, it was pretty easy.
Mm.
But when I had to rewrite it or reread it and proof it, it actually brought tears to my eyes a couple times because I thought, oh man, did I really go through all that? And yeah, I did, but it was almost like, hmm, it was a little bit. It brings you back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible, man. Incredible. So, tell me how the book and writing the book evolved into your, you know, Magic Within coaching. How did that happen? And tell us a little bit more about what that coaching entails.
The Magic Within coaching started a year and a half ago, and we're addictions counselors, mental health workers, certified NLP practitioners. We both work for nonprofit agencies, and what happens is the red tape gets in the way. right? Government sponsored programs. And there was so many people suffering in silence that my partner and I, we just said, you know what, we want to help people. We want to use common sense, my humor, lived experience, all this education we have, and we don't want to be tied down because people don't fit in a box. Like, you know, it's just there's so much red tape to get help.
Right.
And we want to help people. My partner and I, we want to help as many people as possible. And we started that company. It sort of just, we wrote the first book. It sort of just, everything's a fluke, or everything's been attracted the way it's supposed to be, right? And we ended up writing programs. We offer personalized coaching. We offer online programming, and it's all about helping other people. There's so many people suffering in silence and thinking that that is normal, and this is what my life is going to be, that, you know what, the reason I wrote that book was because if a guy like me can do it, why not? Why not you? And there was nothing special about me. I wasn't, you know, but I turned myself into somebody special.
Yeah. What would you say is your mission with the book and with the coaching programs? What do you want to see happen because of the you know, what you're doing, the work that you're doing in the world?
Well, for us, we want to get the message out to as many people as possible. We want people to feel safe, because you know what? When I was going through all that stuff, even when I was 30 years old, I wasn't. I don't know if it wasn't because I was brave enough or strong enough or whatever it was, but I still didn't feel safe to tell people, you know, what was happening. I was always worrying about, well, what's my mom and dad going to think? What's my family going to, what are my friends going to think? Because I had this reputation as this big tough guy, right? And I just couldn't show weakness. It wasn't in me. And I want people to realize that's not helping them. Like, showing weakness is actual strength. Asking for help is actual going to change your life, right? And for us, when we wrote this book and we wrote The Magic Within, How to Transform Your Life, we want to help people transform their life, because there's so many people that deserve to have the life they want, but they don't know how to get it, right? And we want to help them get that life.
So how can our audience start taking steps towards getting the life that they want? What would you recommend as some of those foundational pieces to be able to create their reality, create amazing life?
Well, for me, the self-esteem was zero, or negative zero. And what you have to do is start believing that you deserve to have the life you want, right? Because your mindset, what you think about, you're going to attract. And if you're in a negative mindset that, oh, this life sucks and I don't deserve happiness, or I deserve the life I have, you're going to keep that life you have. You're going to stay there. So the first thing you have to do is start believing in yourself. And what we do, the first foundational thing we do with people is, and it's going to sound funny, is I start with people, you know what, I want you to practice I am worthy. It's small. You know what? It seems so small. 3 words. I am worthy. But you know how many people I've had tell me that I've told myself for the last 25 years that I'm a useless piece of, or I'm not worthy. And I said, well, I figured it out with some people. It's like 80,000 times in 20 years, right? So then I look at them and I say, well, I'm going to want you to say 81,000 times, I'm worthy.
Yeah.
I want you to just keep doing it. I want you to keep working on it. And that it would be the first foundational thing I would want people to work on, is themselves, their self-esteem, their thinking. Because if you believe you're worthy, then you'll do the work. You'll plow through hurdles. I don't look at hurdles as hurdles. I look at things as opportunities to grow. And my perspective in life is quite positive, because you know what, I had all those years of the negativity, and I'm not going back there. I've practiced keeping my thinking, right? And that's where we start, right at the bottom, right at the basics, and we work from there.
Yeah. So it's like starting with the foundation of believing we're worthy, because without that, then
Yeah.
we won't be willing to take the steps or the actions to be able to shift things and to create a life that we desire, our dream life, our dreams, our goals, our greatest possible life. That won't be available. It won't be attainable because people will self-sabotage themselves on the road to getting there, and those old habits will creep up and they won't believe that they're worthy of that which they desire.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? If you actually, like, and I know, if you believe in something and you're dedicated to it, it doesn't matter if one day you step back into an old behavior. You'll catch it and you'll say, nope, that's not who I want to be. I'm going to keep working on I am worthy. And that's the whole foundation. Once you can start with making someone believe in themselves, that they deserve it, then it doesn't matter what obstacles or opportunities that come their way. They'll continue to focus on, what do I want? Where do I want to go? And nothing's going to stop me to get there, right?
Do you ever find that people say, "Oh, I'm worthy. Don't worry about that." Like, what else? What's next?
Yeah. As soon as they tell me that, I tell them, okay, yeah. So tell me what makes you so worthy, like, and make me believe it. Because when they do that, I can tell right now they're just, and I did it for years. They're masking. They're hiding behind, oh yeah, I'm worthy. So what do I got to do next? No, it doesn't work that way. It's kind of like building a house. Do you build a house without a foundation? You can't, right? You got to have something that's going to keep you focused and grounded to it. And I get that a lot. Like, I'm worthy. Okay, so if you're so worthy, tell me what you believe in. Tell me something good about yourself. Tell me what you love. And most of the time, they can't answer the question, do you love yourself, right? Because if you don't love yourself first, how can you love somebody else? Yeah. So I've seen clients do that one with me. Yeah.
You're not getting away with that one.
I don't need to worry about. Yeah, I don't need to worry about that. That's nothing.
Okay, so we get the worthiness in place. What would you say is the next key part of igniting and awakening that magic within?
Well, basically, once they start believing in themselves, it's easy to actually start helping them change their thinking, right? Because they're gonna do the work. And for me, if you can change your thinking, you can change your life. It's that simple. So I do a lot of things where I help people to see the world differently. And I do some funny things with people that I've watched other people do. One of the funniest things I do to people is I tell them, well, look around the room, find everything that's red. And I'm giving a secret away here. Find everything that's red, and then you got 10 seconds. And then I say, okay, focus on me and tell me everything that's green. And they go, well, like, what is that? Like, really? And I says, you see the world through your eyes. You don't see the world as it is. You see the world through your eyes. And if you're looking for, and you got to admit it, if you're looking for negativity, you can find it in the news. Yep. It's like it's all over the place. Yeah. But if you're looking for positivity, the funniest part is you can find it too. It's all over the place as well. It's just what you look for, you find.
Yeah.
And that's what we start as our next thing. When they get I'm worthy and I've got self-esteem, and they start believing in themselves, we start to help them to see the world differently, to perceive the world differently.
Yeah. Because we get what we focus on. I think it's the reticular activating system. If you say, hey, I want that, purple Porsche or Porsche, however you want to pronounce it. I see that car, and it's like all of a sudden I'm seeing it all over the place, right? Because that's what I want, and so we attract into our space and notice that which we want.
Yeah. Exactly. Like for us, we help people to even talk to themselves differently. Like the
Mm.
questions you ask yourself. A question that a lot of people ask me is, why can't I lose 25 pounds?
Mm.
And I'll help them to rephrase that. And why don't you ask that same question as, well, how can I lose 25 pounds more than I've already lost? It's
Mm.
basically it's basically the exact same question,
Right.
except for the first one is, why can't I lose 25 pounds, or why can't I catch this, or why am I not smart enough, right?
Mm. Mm.
Well, you're planting a negative seed in there.
Right.
If you change the way you ask yourself questions and you change the way you talk to yourself, and
Mm.
you'll change the way you see the rest of the world, right?
Yeah.
Like if you can change the way you think, you're going to change the world around you is going to change. That's
Mm.
how powerful our mind and how powerful we are.
Mm. Wow. And are some of these exercises in the book? Can we learn about that and practice these by purchasing the book?
There's some to write a book about all of those things would be like 1,000 pages and stuff like
Right.
that. There are some exercises in the book. I give a foundation of this is what I did. Like
Hmm.
I'm not telling anybody to go do this, but I'm
Right.
I'm telling people this is what I did to change,
Hmm.
but this is also what I teach people how to
Mm.
change, right? And there is a foundation in there. And if you know what, if people want to change more, they just have to go to the magicwithinseries.com
Okay.
and they can see our programs there. And basically what happens is we give much more detail about how to change, right?
Yeah.
And if they want personalized coaching, we have personalized coaching. And really, doing it the way I did was ass backwards.
Hmm.
Nobody could do it any worse than I did or
Mm.
take any longer. It's done it. Like if you want to be a millionaire, wouldn't you ask a millionaire how he became a millionaire? Take advice from him,
Yep.
right? Or a race car driver, how to, yeah.
Mm.
Well, learn from somebody who's done all the hard work or the stumbled back and forth 15 times, banged his head against the wall. That's the way I would do it now. Now that's the way I would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it, Alan. What is the magic within? Like if you could explain to that us what that is. Why did you call it that?
The funniest part about the magic within it just came, and
Mm.
really, happiness doesn't come from that purple Porsche. Happiness doesn't, you know what? Happiness doesn't come from that $150,000 a year job or that
Mm.
big mansion in the hills. Like how many rich actors do you know that have unfortunately committed suicide, and they have the life that everyone else thinks that they would want, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Happiness comes from within. It comes from here. It comes from being happy with yourself, recognizing that you're a good person.
Mm.
You deserve to be happy. And you know what? That's why we called it the magic within, because the magic is within you, within Robert J. Moore, within everybody, with my partner Cindy Preston. Like it's not external.
Mm.
And so many people look for happiness in cars, motorcycles, houses, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever it is. It comes from within you.
Mm.
If you can find peace and happiness, then you can be happy with $5 in your pocket or $5,000 or 5 million, right?
Yeah.
Happiness is all inside.
And so you mentioned that first starting off with I am worthy is a big part of accessing that happiness and that peace.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that
Yeah.
your clients typically come to you with, like challenges, blocks that stop them from accessing that happiness and peace?
Well, most of the time, and this is stuff that we deal with, and I call it programming.
Hmm.
And we're programmed from the minute we're born. Like most people understand when I say programming, when I'm talking to college students, I mention programming. They all put their hand up and they tell me programming is computers, and I say they're absolutely right, but that's not what I'm talking about. So many people realize when you're born, you're programmed right away. Your parents, your friends, your siblings, teachers, police, your community, your environment, your beliefs are somebody else's. And the part that we don't understand is actually you're programmed when you're conceived, because if you're in an abusive, your parents are in an abusive relationship, you've already been exposed to stress and trauma, and you're not even born yet, but you already know these feelings. And part of what happens with helping people is you have to break down their programming. You have to help them to see that their limiting belief, like say your parents told you you're going to be poor your whole life, and you believe that. And now when you go to a $15 an hour job and you think that this is the greatest thing in the world, it's because that belief came from your parents or your brother or your teachers. The funniest part is I believe it was grade 6 principal told my mom, right while I was sitting beside her because I was acting up because of all the stuff that happened, that I was going to end up in jail and I was going to be useless to society.
Wow.
Right. And that became part of my programming. And I believe that is because, that guy that raped me told me I was bad. I deserved to be punished. That became part of my programming. Yeah. And what you have to do is you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to look at, okay, why do I believe this? Where does that come from? Like, would you believe a belief I used to have years ago was you put butter on or burn? Like my mom told me, you put butter on or burn. And you know what? I tell people that. And they give me the exact same look that you just gave me. Like, really? Like, what are you? You've lost your marbles. And you know what? That was a belief from my mom, or probably from my grandmother or great grandmother or somewhere down the line, right? It's not bad. It's just a belief that they had, right? And part of changing is recognizing which beliefs are beneficial and which beliefs are not beneficial, and being strong enough to create your own beliefs.
Yeah. It's powerful, man. How do people get an inventory of what are the beliefs that might be running them, especially if they're subconscious and more covert, so to speak?
Oh, yeah. Beliefs are planted really down. The roots are planted really down. I would ask myself, for me, I would ask myself, what was holding me back? What was I trying to succeed? And when you're honest with yourself and saying, why can't I keep a relationship, a healthy relationship? Well, part of my belief was, because of that guy that did that to me, was I couldn't keep a healthy relationship because I was scared to be hurt, right? And so my belief was, if I get too close to someone, they're just gonna hurt me. And I had to recognize that belief came from that person saying, I deserve to be punished, right? So when you deserve to be punished, that means you don't deserve to be a happy life. That means you don't deserve to have abundance and happiness, health, or anything like that. And part of it is, you know what, when you take inventory, it's kind of like, think back. Where does this come from? Why is my thinking here? Like, why don't I like yellow cars, or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve? Look at what's holding you back from it. And if you start to really reflect on it, you'll get to where, oh, this comes from way back 30 years ago or 25 years ago, or if you're young, 20 years ago, right? And then you start to create a belief again. Belief is just a thought that you tell yourself 1,000 times, right? So it's like the belief, I'm not worthy. Well, did your parents tell you you weren't worthy, or did the baseball coach tell you you're not worthy, and you believed that? Well, Now I want you to tell yourself you're worthy twice as many times, and you'll end up believing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful.
It's
Good.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, so the big part of it is understanding what am I attempting to succeed at and achieve, and then also like what's blocking me from achieving that, and just looking at that and being self-aware and noticing, hey, what's coming up, where does this come from, what, tracing the root back, when's the first time I heard that, where did I experience that belief from, and then from that position we can understand, oh, that's where I got it. What does having that awareness do, like knowing where it came from, how does that help people change the belief and make new decisions and new beliefs?
Well, it's kind of like you have a belief and it came from somewhere. And when you recognize, okay, I believe this, you're also going to recognize, well, where did it come from?
Right.
Whose belief is it? Because it's going to be someone else's belief. It's going to be someone in your environment gave you this belief that you'll never succeed at anything. Right? Well, who was that? Was that my grade 6 principal that told me I was never going to succeed at anything? I was going to probably end up in jail? Yeah, he added to the belief. It's kind of like you get small ones. You failed at math, and then your teacher says, "Oh, you're useless," or "You're stupid," or whatever it is. These are all small things, right? But it builds up. Like if somebody tells you you're not going to succeed for basically what happens is by 8 years old, 80% of your beliefs are already ingrained in you, and you don't even have the ability for logical thinking to say, oh, that putting butter on that burn is not logical, and that I'm not going to believe that, right? You believe it because when you're a kid, you're a sponge and you absorb everything, right? Most of your learning is visual learning. You're watching relationships between your friends, your teachers, your police, whatever it is. So you're visually learning, you're auditorily hearing everything. So you're learning all of these beliefs. So you're absorbing things and you don't even know, like, is it really true?
No, it's powerful. So we get to see whose belief is it and then make a different decision of, hey, that's not mine. I don't own that. What I do own is I am worthy, or I deserve money, or I deserve all the love that I want, right? Like whatever that decision is, we get to make that decision from that point, and then just simply knowing where the root came from, we can say, nope, that's not me, and then the new decision will be reinforced. And that way we have the logical understanding of why was I programmed, this person gave it to me, cross that out, no more. I give myself this programming because I have sovereign choice over my life and the beliefs that I believe. So now I just get to reinforce again and again and again that I am worthy, I am enough, I am loved, I am abundant, whatever the thing is. Is that along the line of the process?
That's actually the process perfectly described, because once you recognize what it is and where it came from, you can start today, like install the I am worthy, or I deserve love, or I am enough. Like I am enough. How many people in the world don't think they're enough? Like really, you know what? If you think about it, every person in this world is a miracle, because how many million other things had to happen to get you to be born, or to be created, right? Everything had to be perfect. You had to go through all of the swimming to the egg. You had to make it through. Everybody's a miracle. Like, really, you are enough. You got to stop trying to fit into the Barbie style society, and you know what? Be happy with who you are. Like, we all can't be Arnold Schwarzenegger and stuff like that. Like, come on.
100%, Alan. So just one of the final topics I want to cover is this awakening. Tell us more about awakening and what that means to you.
Awakening is actually a book that I want people to read, to realize that, you know what, you can live in darkness. And that's where I lived. I lived in darkness for 17 years. And it was kind of like I did awake. I woke up one day and I decided, you know what, I don't want that life. I don't want that crap. I don't want that. I want a future. I want to be happy. I want to be able to be me. And Awakening is a story by me, Robert J. Moore, about how you can go from the depths of darkness to the light of life. You can have the life you want, and it's amazing. I'm looking for the book. Hold on one second.
Sure,
I should have
sure.
had it.
Sure.
It's the picture alone. Like, take a look at the picture. The hand coming out of the water, somebody helping, right? And that's what it is. It's pull yourself out from the depths and have the life you deserve. And that's why it ended up being Awakening, out of the darkness into the light. And we just hope that many people read it and realize that if a normal or not even a normal guy like me can do it, and a guy like Robert J. Moore can do it, anybody can do it. Like, my favorite saying is, why not you? Like, why not? Tell me one reason. Why not you?
That's so powerful. I love it. I love it, Alan. So we have the ability to awaken from wherever we're at, whatever place that we might be stuck at, overwhelmed by, feeling lost, feeling like we don't have clarity, feeling like things aren't going our way. And we have the ability to awaken out of that, to grow, to transcend that challenge, that growth opportunity, as you said it earlier. I love that. It's not a problem. It's an opportunity for growth, and reframing is so important. So I really, really love what you're talking about here, Alan. It's an amazing discussion. And if we could wrap this up with, some final parting words of wisdom, what do you think that our audience really needs to get from this interview and take action on today?
You know what? They're not alone. They deserve to have the life they really, truly want. They are enough. And it's time to believe that they are worthy of whatever it is they want. I don't care if it's happiness, love, money, or whatever they think they can't achieve or they don't deserve. They do. They deserve to have it, and they can have it if they want.
Yeah.
If they need to talk to us, they can contact us at themagicwithinseries.com, and we'll give them the time to see if we can do something to get them to I am worthy.
I love it. And who are the perfect people to come to you? Like, who do you best work with? Who's a good fit to have a conversation with you, Alan?
The best people somebody that really wants change. Somebody that's ready to let go of what's holding them back, let go of what they've learned in their life, and is hungry. Somebody that is fed up of what they've got. They want more. They need more, and they're willing to really do the work of looking at themselves and the work to change. And it's not really like catastrophic work. It's just small things they have to do. Yeah. I think people that want change are the best ones.
Yeah, 100%. It's that growth mindset. I know we both value that so much because we've seen how much we've grown, right? From me hitting my rock bottom, feeling like I'm throwing my life away, to dedicating my life to helping people become their greatest possible self. From you feeling like you're alone, feeling like you have to keep it all to yourself and you didn't know how to express your anger and your frustration and your suffering, to being someone who leads other people to discover their magic within, to discover the joy, to discover the excitement and joy in life like you are igniting people, Alan. So I love what you're doing, and anyone who's listening or watching right now, definitely stay connected with Alan. Have a conversation with him and his partner, the magicwithinseries.com. Reach out to him, connect with him, let him know you heard about him through this interview. And Alan, keep up the amazing work. Keep creating the magic in the world and igniting people. This is just the beginning. We both know this is just the beginning. Awakening yourself, your greatest possible self, and really inspiring so many people. So thank you for what you do, Alan.
And you know what? I want to thank you for what you do, because you inspire a lot of people too, and you're on a course of helping more people than I think you even know. So thank you for having me on. Thank you for being who you are, and just keep being you, man.
I appreciate you, Alan. We'll see you soon, okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right. You take care. Bye-bye.